This podcast will fail. And that's probably okay, but I might be wrong. Who knows? So I am here on episode 54, and I'm not alone for for the second time in the course of this. Who I am is completely irrelevant to the conversation that I have come here to have with you, with myself, and with a good friend of mine who is joining me here on the podcast today. Say hello to Joe. Joe, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, you're not supposed to say my name.
Oh my god! Oh shit! That was like, I'm so annoyed at myself. I told myself that 10 times before you hit record. Okay, all right, okay.
That's okay. The magic of editing allows me to remove the fact that you have ruined my anonymity
Oh
and
my!
have said my name out loud. That's okay. That's all right. But listen, it's okay because these are the conversations that I have wanted to have for some time now, and I've been walking through these semi-daily now podcasts, just examining the world and my life and life in general and people and society and everything else. And so I'm really, really pleased that you stumbled on to this particular podcast with me here today. So I definitely appreciate you taking a little time to walk through and have a conversation with me. Now, you and I go back a ways, but
Yeah.
so all this month, for you potential listener out there, I've been asking a question every single week for season 3 here. And my questions have garnered some good responses. This week, Joe's going to help us kick off this week's question. I want to know what moves you, right? In the greater context, I want to know what it is that inspires you, that motivates you, that picks you up, that moves your soul, right? I want to, and there's no wrong answer, as I've said all along, right? This is completely open to interpretation, whatever the first thing that comes to mind, again, potential listener, for you. So, Joe, what moves you?
So, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me on. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I always love a good opportunity to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. So that's very nice. No, I mean, I think for me, it's a kind of it's quite a broad question, but the way I would interpret it is, what motivates me, what keeps me moving forward, and what invokes the emotions necessary to do that. And I guess what I've been finding over the past couple of years, as I've sort of finished university studies and moved into the working world a bit, and I've sort of tried to find myself in that sort of environment. I would say that I'm influenced very heavily um, by I guess other people. When I say other people, I mean more established people, older people, wiser people, people who themselves love to talk and learn and discuss their insights and their views and how it is that they have come to those insights and views, especially when it's something that sort of challenges a view or an insight of mine that for a while I was fairly convinced in. I actually find, I guess if you want to call them pundits, if you want to call them commentators, those are the sorts of people who I follow very closely, who make me think and reconsider, and who also invoke the sort of motivation within me to look deeper into things, and to also try and drill down into other people and find what makes them tick and what makes them come to their conclusions and how we might differ. So yeah, that, I guess you could say, that moves me in the sense that it motivates me to reinforce my beliefs if they are worthy of being reinforced, if they're well founded, if they're based in logic and reason, and also motivates me to find areas in which, well, maybe that's a bit more baseless than I thought it was. Maybe I need to reconsider that.
So I find your perspective on it very intriguing for a couple of to be quite honest, demographic reasons.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So as we talked about before the start of the recording here, anonymity is key.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter necessarily what your name is or where you are.
Yeah.
And suffice it enough to say, and some of the more observant out there may note that you don't sound quite like me, so you're clearly not in the continental United States, and you've got a different set of influences from quote unquote. I'm interested that you use this word pundits.
Right.
Now, the other side of that coin then becomes I hate to be, I really do. I hate to be ageist in any
Hmm.
way,
Hmm.
but I'm an old fart and you're a young buck. Um,
I think
but
you're being more
one of the
ageist against
reasons,
yourself rather than me against me. I think
no, clearly I am.
yeah.
But but it lends itself to naturally different ranges of being receptive to different types of information, right? You grew up in a completely different generation than I did. And not even just that, but societally and culturally in a different part of the world than I did. But it's been my experience that folks that are younger obviously don't think the way I do. And don't put value in the same sources of information or the same types of information. It's really interesting to hear that you are able to digest information from, again, what the word you use, pundits, because I think in my generation we find the pundits to be suspect, and
Okay.
we question, and there's a huge massive distrust of anyone that puts out their quote unquote opinion as information. So I want to dig a little bit deeper on just that. But
Hmm.
how do you suss out whether or not someone that you are listening to is not full of shit? I guess it's the
Right.
most
Right.
the easy way to put it.
Right, that's a great question. And you're totally right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't put my I don't follow these commentators with blind faith. Because what I've noticed, especially in the really recent political climate, as you've quite rightly said, is there are a lot of people out there who present their alternative opinion on things as fact, or declare themselves a news source when really they're just that. They're just an opinion giver. They are paid to give their opinion, and that is not news. So I'm while I clearly, like as anyone does, I have there are people out there whose opinions I align myself with more, who say things that resonate more with me than what other people say, and as such, because I'm a human being, and I naturally want to sort of categorize myself and align myself with a particular set of values, or the people who espouse those values. I am to some degree biased. What I'm trying to do, and I don't always succeed in doing it, but what I try to do is, if I hear something from that person, regardless of how long I've been listening to them for, regardless of how much I agree with them, if I hear something that in my gut, because I think it can be a gut feeling. Sometimes you hear something that someone says, and something happens on a sort of physiological level where you actually cringe. You almost internally cringe, and that sends a little alarm bell to your brain. Anything, and that makes you think, okay, hang on, just back up a second. What? That's a bit far from me, buddy. So I'm very careful to listen to those kinds of cues in myself, and the more I listen to those cues, and the more I force myself not to just take something as gospel, even if it's coming from the mouth of someone who I generally even idolize. I'd go as far as to say idolize in some cases. The more that I make sure I'm attentive to those cues, the better I get at. I guess the closest thing to objectivity that I would say, I could get to. So
Objectivity obviously is hard, right?
right,
And
right.
especially in this world now where, right, everyone is clamoring to be heard and to be followed or believed or respected. And so what about those conversations or that information? Take me deeper into how that moves you. So in other words, you're saying that you are pushed in your own mind to do more or to experience more because of the experiences that you see espoused by others. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. In terms of going deeper into that, when I'm talking again, I don't want to be too specific because I don't want to make this political because it's not. It's
Sure.
but it's not just with regards to politics. It's not just to do with the hot topics, the of the decade or of the week. Sometimes it's another another area. I would say that moves me the most is just in a more general sense, how can I conduct myself and try to navigate my life in such a way that makes my behavior the most beneficial to both myself and those around me. Now, you might listen to that and think, okay, sure, that makes sense. That I can see why that would motivate someone. And I guess it's maybe particularly resonating with me at this time because we are living in a time of heightened political tension. And there's a lot of nastiness out there. There's a lot of division out there. There's a lot of on both sides of the spectrum. We've got people who are leaning further and further to the extremes of their particular political persuasion. Um, and I feel like it's when that happens, it's only natural for people to sort of to lose touch with the importance of navigating themselves in a noble way. And by noble, I simply mean just that. I mean conducting yourself in a way that is of that will benefit yourself and others at the same time to the greatest extent possible. Um, and I think, especially as someone who's, as a like you said, as someone who's quite young, as a young man who is looking to try and find my place quite, more and more in the world, and figure out which direction I'm going in. I think that that's something that young men, but young people in general, need.
And I think it is unfortunate that it's really my generation that is making that harder for you because at the moment, unfortunately, and no, it's actually still people that are older than me that are pulling the strings and calling the shots and passing the money from hand to hand to try and push both of us respectively from different directions
Hmm.
towards one set of beliefs or another. I do think it's interesting because what when I hear that that type of I love the fact that you use the word punditry. That makes it so much easier for me. Um, you know, because I think you are expressing to me almost the opposite of what I think I've experienced from others, which I'll lay it out this way. You hear someone of a, position of whatever it happens to be, fame, authority, attention grabber, an influencer, a potentially world leaders, or even whatever. You're taking this information and it's causing you to consider carefully, and come to your conclusions for the purpose of bettering yourself and being more, I guess, well-rounded or better informed. Whereas on the other side of it, I think when I hear someone say that they are moved by the topics and the conversations that are happening right now, it's because they're being inspired to be angry, or they're being inspired to rail against what they don't believe in. And because this is, again, we talked a little bit before and how I tend to project. I project on the fact that I get pissed off
Yeah.
when I hear things that I disagree with, and that quote unquote moves me to want to work against something rather than for something. So it is really, admittedly, a little refreshing to hear that there's more than just railing against something.
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, that is that particular mindset of working against the opposition rather than for what you believe in is def I'm susceptible to it. I've those other feelings are invoked in me all the time when I listen to my particular choice of pundit, commentator, however you want to label them. It happens all the time because I'm human. And like I said, as a human, I'm to a certain extent I'm tribal. We all are. We all have a category of beliefs and values that we choose to align ourselves with. And as such, when we hear things, when we're presented with an opportunity to denounce something that goes against those values, then we, you know, I think we can't help sometimes but to take it. So I'm definitely not immune to getting angry, and maybe I would say reacting to this information that I digest in a way that is not particularly helpful to either. It's not beneficial in improving who I am as a person, and it certainly would not be beneficial to facilitating a civil discourse if I found myself in a position where I could have I could discuss these things with people of opposing opinions. And again, I'm going to bring it back to the point as that's why I try to be so careful with when I listen to these people. Are the things that they are telling me do I really believe them to be true, or am I just is my brain just assuming that they're true because I choose to listen to them? And B, is this information that I'm digesting going to help me retain the ability to facilitate a civil discussion if needs be?
Well, again, I appreciate you, being able to see, or I guess admit, like, I guess I'm not the only one. It's nice, I feel like
Yeah.
an island unto myself sometime with how these things influence me and affect me. But I do appreciate that you've got such an open ability to communicate those concepts, and rather than just like you said, everybody's tribalism's everywhere, but it's clear to me that you don't allow that tribalism to drive you as so many people do. It doesn't matter who you are or what generation you're from. The tribalism, like you said, is everywhere. So
Right.
it's kind of refreshing that you're moved um, to be involved in rational discourse.
I mean, I try to be, and again, I don't think that that's something that I'm trying to be completely honest with myself and honest with you. Now, I don't think that that is something that is innate within me. I think that that's something that I have had to take a sort of look at myself and ask myself, what are you doing with this information? How is it making you feel? How is it making you react? And how are you choosing to conduct yourself after digesting it? So it's something that I've had to sort of, and I'm still trying to teach myself and remind myself, to be very careful about.
Well, and listen, I trust me, I can tell you in the course of doing this podcast, I've had many of those moments where I've had to stop and say, I need to be honest with myself for a minute here, because it is just me. I'm just talking to a recording device, and
Yeah.
I've many a good revelatory moments that I've had in being able to do that bit of self assessment and self discovery and exploration. Um, that's a really good kickoff to the because so again, I'm putting these questions out every week, and I'm leaving it open to the interpretation of whoever hears the question, and is, what does that mean to you? Because there's a whole different set of things that people could come back with when I say what moves you. For some people it's music. For some people it's um uh camaraderie with friends. For some people it's sports teams. You and I'll kind of pivot a little bit, because as much as I love the anonymity, you and I go back now probably 3 or 4 years, I
Oh,
think, that
oh,
we've
sure, yeah.
been
I mean, I think I remember doing. I actually remember doing a podcast with you back in 2017, and even by
that
then, we'd known each other for a fair while. So yeah, 3 4 years now. Yeah.
you and I both we met on the proverbial platform, the grand old YouTube,
Yep.
uh both YouTubers in our respective ways. um and this podcast started with me being at and I don't want to necessarily say the end of my YouTube career, though I question if I'll ever pick up a camera again at this point, because this podcasting stuff is just too much fun. It's too easy. It feels like a cheat sometimes, to just record audio and then publish it and not worry about freaking, and I was telling you a little bit before, like camera angles and setup and lighting, and is the sound going to be good? Is this How do I edit these clips together? How do I make, oh Christ. But I wanted to also, from that perspective, the fact that we both come from this world of creative endeavors, from that aspect,
Hmm.
right? And I know right now you mentioned to me before, you're not involved in anything right now, right? I know that you
Right, right,
were actively pursuing music
right.
for the
Yep.
better part of the last year,
Hmm.
on and off with podcasting and YouTube and different things. But when I if I pivot the question and I force the context of the question to what stirs your soul, what motivates you and gets you pumped up and excited, what is it, what is that one thing in life that generates excitement and passion for you?
In a creative framework or
And any framework,
any
really, you
in
know,
any framework.
what increases your heart rate?
Oh
Right, what
God.
gets you
Spiders tend to do the
moving
trick.
and spider.
They seem to do the trick. Um.
Mental note: no rubber spiders when I meet Joe.
Oh no, no, not unless you want to get punched. um. No, it's a God. I'm having to really think about this now. So forgive me if there's a sizable pause.
I did it on purpose to put you on the spot. That's specifically why I did it.
If I'm being completely honest with both myself and you and whoever listens to this, I am someone who, whether it's a good quality or a harmful quality, cares an awful lot about how others perceive me, and how and that's not purely a narcissistic thing. It is linked to a desire to genuinely do well by people. You know, I don't want to. It's not. I'm not someone who will stab someone in the back, and sleep perfectly fine at night, as long as that stabbing someone in the back improves my image in other people's eyes. No, it's genuinely linked to a desire to be liked by other people, to be approved of by other people, and to do well by other people. Now, with that said, what moves me, what inspires me, what gets my heart rate up, all those sorts of things. I would say it's being presented with an opportunity to make a move in life, whether it is a creative move, whether it's a move in the general course of my life, the direction I'm taking it, which in turn would allow me to meet other people. But it's more specific than meet and be involved with other people. It's anything that allows me an opportunity to prove myself to other people, to prove myself that to prove to other people that I can be a good person in whatever context that may be, whether it's as a son-in-law, whether it's as a friend, whether it's as a as a creator. I would say, yeah. So if I were to put that in a nutshell, I would say what motivates me the most, what moves me the most, is any opportunity presented to me that will facilitate a sizable change that in turn improves how I am in the eyes of other people.
So it's not quite that thing that all all YouTubers and all everybody in that space of content creation, you come to a point, I think, this is me, where you just have to be honest with yourself and admit that it's the recognition for your work that you're seeking, right? That
Right.
you feel like I'm putting time and effort into a life. And you know what, you raise a good point, which is whether it's a creative quote unquote life or just being a person in general, being a member of a community, whether that's a family, whether that's, for some people it's a religious family, a church family, for others it's a sports club. But that you saying that the chance for you to show who you are and be recognized, that excites you, that ability to, I guess, let me perform for you and put the best possible effort I can into showing you who I am and what I can do. And it's that chance to again, I like the word perform, but it might not be quite right. But you're looking for that opportunity to prove yourself is an interesting one.
No, but no, I think it's an interesting word choice, and I think it's probably a fairly accurate word choice. You know, the idea of performing, because it's not just. and again, I don't know if this is me being completely honest, and I'm not, again, I don't know if it's a particularly good quality to have, but when I'm talking about the opportunity and the change, it's not just the opportunity to do something and to prove to myself that I can do it. It is accompanied by a desire to for a desire for others to say, oh, look, Joe's doing that, and Joe's doing it well. So there is a performative aspect to it, definitely.
I'm reminded. I'm reminded of another contemporary. That hearing you say that takes me back to the videos that were done with Jim.
Yep.
And I'll tell you from my side of it, right? I saw that you and Jim were, I guess, collaborating to a certain degree, right? And producing hey kids, look, it's the millennium, it's a weird time, but diss videos, right? Diss
Yeah.
rap videos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I saw it happening. I didn't know Jim for nothing. He didn't know me, I don't know him, but you and I were friends. And I saw that and said, how in the hell do I insert myself in this? Because I feel exactly what you just articulated. That ability to show, I think I can do that. And which anybody that listens to season 1 of this podcast knows that that's my number one fatal character flaw, is that I always look at things and see, oh, I can do that. I want to do that. Let me try and do that. And I inserted myself surreptitiously, and I think it came out okay. It was really a little. I was nervous because of my friendship with you. I thought I'm about to diss this poor friend of mine and say some half joking insults, and I don't know. When you said that, it took me back to that moment of saying, look, this is a chance for me to show that I can play in that playground too. And for good or ill. And you, you and I have revisited that video set in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't expect you to pull that card out, man. That's an absolute throwback. No, but seriously, I remember, yeah, that was, and I tell you what, that was the way that was pulled off was amazing. I know we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I just wanted to pay homage to that. I mean, the whole format of that video, and um, I had no idea, obviously, that he'd collaborated with you. I had no idea that there was going to be a guest star at all. And then I thought, that's a really interesting choice of feature, but I totally get it. So yeah, I mean, that's a blast.
Who?
Oh my god.
But
Oh,
this is the beauty of the anonymous podcast format, that there's nothing to be lost. It doesn't matter. It's and hell, as anybody, you already scolded me or corrected me at the beginning that I don't think anybody's going to listen to the full 30 minutes of anything, but you've already adjusted my outlook on that today. So
oh, good. Oh, we have a very different mindset. I just all I'm thinking now is, oh, you fucked up, boy. You fucked up.
no.
Uh,
I'm probably going to put like a duck quacking sound effect over you saying my name. I think
Okay.
I don't really. It doesn't matter. I'll come up with something interesting.
Yes,
Um,
the classic duck quack. That's
the
a
duck
good one.
quack. That's my name, and don't wear it out. But well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day on a. It's Sunday. I'm going to post this on Monday, but
Mhm.
taking time out of your Sunday to reconnect with an old friend felt great to me, and I can't thank you enough for being a part of it, sir.
No, it was great fun, and things like this actually. Sometimes I find that when I have these discussions with people, they ask questions, they put questions to me, and they make me think about things that I actually, for whatever reason, don't find the time to ask myself, and it actually helps me figure out some stuff for myself that I would not have maybe considered and reflected upon on my own had I not been asked about it. So thanks for that, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And to you, potential listener, thank you for anybody that put time into this today, and I appreciate you as always. That's it. We're going to end it there and get on with our Sunday afternoons. Joe, have a fantastic rest of your weekend, sir.
And same to you.
Very good. That's all for now. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.